ones telling the truth.
All right. Hey, guys. How are you? God bless you. Hope you guys are ready for this one because this one is going to be an exposition again of Oklahoma DHS catering to the LGBT. But this one is even worse than the last one that was uncovered. But before I get into that, let me just say two things. One, there's another one that we are currently working on right now. I got all the documents sent to me today. And this is from about Owen Osterson, that we are diving into that to find out, what happened there. Another example of grooming and whatnot. I mean, we've got so many documents and testimonies and videos to go through, but this is part of what we do that you guys don't see. Now, I've given everything over to our friend over at Visit, and her name was outed, unfortunately, by a congressman, but still. So look for that. We're doing that soon. I also want to say that, Bartlesville is having on the 12th, Jim Gillespie preaching it. They're having a night where they're going to have a drag night. And it's going to be a night where they're getting together to, stand against the ban on drag. But here's the problem. There's no ban on drag. There's a ban on drag queens in front of children. And what I love more than this and anything is that this event is for only people 18 and over. So I don't know what they're protesting, because that's exactly what we've been trying to say, is that this stuff shouldn't be around children. And again, it's all theatrics. It's all to try to stir the base up. It's rage bait. That's all it is. But, because again, I think that this flood that's happened, you got to see a taste of who the enemy really is, right? The people that everybody's so afraid of, the people that everybody caters to. You go look at my Instagram, and I have been outing these people like crazy the last few days of their pure and utter hatred, mocking children who lost their lives at a Christian camp because their parents may or may not have voted for Donald Trump. We don't know. They assume they did. But the thing is, we really don't know at the end of the day. But the point is that they're making memes talking about Camp Mystic, Scoop. I mean, these people are sick. And, these are the ones that claim that they have the moral high ground. They're the ones claiming love. And, we need to follow their example. Really? Why would anybody want to follow that? But these are the people that everybody's afraid to. We don't want to hurt their feelings. We want to make sure they understand that we're loving. But if you want to see evil, just go on my Instagram. And I have been showing all this stuff the last couple of days. And as a result, too, by the way, my Instagram is blowing up. I've got 9 point something million views in the last 28 days, which, most people can't do. And I'm praising God for it, by the way. 9.1 million views in the last 28 days on Instagram. So when Facebook kicked me off their platform, it blew up my Instagram. And I love it because, Instagram has more people, and that's really where the people are trying to reach us. Now, again, my audience there tends to be more conservative patriot, but we're interjecting gospel preaching, exposition of evil, which is something we're well known to do. So we're thankful for that platform blowing up like the way it has. We're going to be hitting 50,000 followers soon with 9.1 million person reach. That's incredible. So, but anyway, I want to jump into this because you need to hear what's going on. Because if you've watched any of our live videos, right, when we go out preaching, and this is why we encourage you guys to watch, you'll notice a consistent theme lately at these Pride events, right? Every one this year, there's always been a push to get LGBT people to be foster parents. I mean, there's a huge push. And, you wonder why, right? You heard about this, remember Bartlesville, baby Xander there who lost his life because, DHS was so hell-bent on trying to put a baby in a lesbian's home. One who had a record of abusing children who's now in prison for the rest of her life for murdering that baby. But this one actually, lawmakers have had enough. We've been fighting this battle for years. And this story got the attention of lawmakers. And for centuries, Americans have been told that CPS or Child Protective Services, they're in place to make sure that kids are safe, right? This is what they say. They only step in when families can't protect their own. Now, I've had firsthand experience with this, and as a result of CPS is trying to do what they did to me years ago, I got put on a list, praise God, that they can never bother me again, and they have not. That if somebody, some homo or whatever, tries calling on me, it gets rerouted. And thus far, we haven't had any problems. But this story, okay, the story of Lincoln Lockman, that's the young man's name here. This exposes a very different reality. Okay. So where government agencies and courts meet, parents are literally powerless, and decisions are increasingly guided not by the law, but by progressive trends. And accountability is non-existent, right? Leaving the system incapable of fixing its own mistakes. It's like the fox in the hen house. Oh, I'll watch the chickens for you. This is what's happening in our country. And by the way, again, I just want to remind you that this is happening because of us, right? As Christians, you've got Christians that are so afraid to deal with this. They're so afraid of being called homophobic or bigoted or hateful. They're so afraid of what man thinks about them that these things happen because, they're terrorists, and they've got Christians and conservatives to be silent and be the nice guy because most people have adopted their language of what love and hate actually is. But our kids are the ones suffering for it, right? So, last year, we reported that Solon Genesis Harrison, right, who was a Moore, Oklahoma 6th grade teacher, right, and his same-sex spouse, which, I'm going to take the side here and say there's no such thing, okay, as a same-sex spouse. I don't believe gay marriage exists. But anyway, Ryan Marcus or McGonigal Harrison, they were removed from a Carnival cruise ship and were flown back to the U.S. by federal authorities following a report of a male child being molested during the spring break voyage, right? I don't know if you guys remember that story or not. We shared that, put it out there, okay? Anyway, so you go into this here, and by the way, this guy, when he got caught and realized, this was coming out, he killed himself, okay? Dozens of elementary kids were put at risk because of this guy. And this is his picture right here, by the way. Okay. This is him. Okay. And he took his own life after this was coming out. So a subsequent investigation by the FBI produced evidence, sufficient evidence, mind you, to charge Harrison with abusive sexual content with a child under 12 years old. And that was in June of 2024, just a year ago. He was going to go to prison for the rest of his life. He was immediately removed from his teaching position, and he committed suicide 9 days after he was indicted, right? So Harrison's, right, they were adoptive parents of a male child named Lincoln, okay? Now, again, our team reached out to the Oklahoma Department of Human Child Services. Specifically, they contacted Dr. Deborah Schroepspire and Communications Director Deborah Martin to ask if Lincoln had been placed and or adopted through their agency, and if steps had been taken to ensure the child's safety since Harrison's indictment for a child sex crime and suicide. Okay? In a written statement, after citing confidentiality restrictions involving specific cases, Oklahoma Department of Human Services failed to deny or confirm the agency's previous involvement with the child or the Harrisons. In October of last year, okay, new evidence that Solon Harrison, who prior to becoming a teacher and an adoptive parent, was arrested for child sex crimes near his hometown in Labette County, Kansas. Okay, now Kansas failed to prosecute this guy. Okay. Now, here's the thing. According to an April 2010 post in the Parsons Sun, Solon Harrison, who was only 22 at the time, was arrested in Dennis, Kansas, and charged with 2 counts of sodomizing a child, 2 counts of taking indecent liberties with a child, and 2 counts of furnishing alcohol to a minor. Now, of course, those charges have been erased from public access, and despite a records request to Labette County Sheriff Darren Eichinger and a subsequent complaint issued to Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach, all related documents continue to be unlawfully withheld, right? And this is what we're dealing with, right? These people protect these scumbags, okay? This is what they do. It has been reported, but not confirmed, that Ryan McGonigal, now Harrison, then 16, may have been Harrison's victim that was described in a local newspaper at the time of this guy's arrest, right? And it's now his husband now, I guess, whatever. And here's the screen. I don't know why I didn't put that in there. Let me just get this in here because you guys need to see this one too. So let me put this. I don't know why I don't have this in here, but I want to show you this. So again, we want to put all the evidence in here for everybody to see, right? So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. This isn't conjecture. There's been, you have to see this you have to see this to believe it. Like it is unbelievable what's taking place here. When you hear the rest of the story, it's crazy. So the newspaper article says, Solon G. Harrison, 22, of Dennis, is charged, it says one son, is charged with 2 counts of aggravated indecent liberties with a child, 2 counts of criminal sodomy, 2 counts of indecent liberties with a child, and 2 counts of furnishing alcohol to a minor for illicit purposes. He made a first appearance on the charges last week. A hearing in this case is set for April 26th, and he was released from jail on Friday on a reduced bond of $25,000. The original bond was set at $100,000. This is becoming an all too familiar pattern as well. These people get their bonds reduced to get out of jail. Right? I mean, this is insane. But anyway, so according to, Solon Harrison's obituary, right, he and McGonigal married in March 26th, 2013, when McGonigal was still a teen, just 3 years after Harrison's arrest. Okay. Now I'm going to show you this. This is a Facebook post, right? You see that there. Okay. So they spent several years, right? These 2 homos, they spent several years in Texas. Then in 2019, they relocated to Oklahoma, where they were quickly approved by Oklahoma Department of Human Services as foster parents, and they adopted Lincoln Lockman. Lincoln's biological parents, Andrew and Gardenia Lockman, have since reached out to our team in search of their endangered child. The Lockmans confirm Oklahoma Department of Human Services is responsible for Lincoln's foster placement and adoption, as well as the foster placement of at least 2 other boys, age 5 and 7, with the Harrisons. Okay? Now, all of this is important as we go through this, because the adoptive father takes the kid to Kansas, and Oklahoma Department of Human Services lies about notifying Kansas, and both states screen out multiple reports of concern. After learning about Harrison's second child molestation arrest and suicide, Lincoln's biological parents, right, again, Andrew and Gardenia Lockman, they started looking for their son. They found a GoFundMe setup, right? That's what you see here. To help, this is set up by Ryan Harrison, listing his overwhelming financial difficulties, mental health issues, and need for funds to relocate outside Oklahoma with their child. Gardenia Lockman reached out to Ryan Harrison on social media to ensure Lincoln's safety. And according to Gardenia, Harrison didn't respond. He just blocked her from further communicating. And the Lockmans also unsuccessfully attempted to contact the mother of Solon Harrison. Now, a recommendation for an Oklahoma child care provider on Ryan's page suggests he had already left the state with Lincoln. There it is right there. So our team reached out to Ryan Harrison on social media, but of course he hasn't given a response. The child welfare system in 2 states are now refusing to locate this little boy, assess his current well-being, or investigate potential abuse related to any of the children placed in the homo's care. And it appears the system only investigates abuse that it itself did not foster. And once again, we see this pattern over and over and over again, don't we? Right? We see this pattern in Oklahoma, haven't we? In Bartlesville, Washington County specifically. This isn't something, an outlier that just, this is something that is continuing to happen. And it's something that, we cannot turn a blind eye to. Now, unfortunately, guys like me get shadow banned because this is the work that we do because, the entire system is set up to protect these people, right? You can't have whistleblowers. You can't have people blowing the whistle on them. But you need to start taking a look at what's happening in your state, okay? So beginning on May 20th, 2025, right? Katie, right? Referral number 249-1001, and the Lockmans, which is their referral number is 249-0843, each made separate reports to the Oklahoma Abuse and Neglect Hotline and provided details of the documented risk of harm to Lincoln in the Harrison's care, as well as potential locations for the child in Kansas. A hotline supervisor, listen to this, informed Oklahoma Department of Human Services, right, informed that they had access to Lincoln's current location since Ryan Harrison continues to receive monthly adoptive payments and insurance through Sooner Care, which is Medicaid in Oklahoma for Lincoln. Now, upon learning, right, on June 10th, both referrals were screened out because the family now resides out of state. Oklahoma Department of Human Services informed our team the report was forwarded to Kansas, and that was simply another lie. Also on June 10th, the Kansas Protection, I want you to see this, the Kansas Protection Report Center searched by both names and birth dates, but found no record of any report associated with Lincoln. A subsequent report, intake ID number 2574705, was made to that entity. And after prodding the Kansas Department for Children and Families for an update, the following notice was received by email on June 17th stating the report was not assigned for further investigation for unspecified reasons, right? See the screenshot there? You can see the event number and all that stuff. Read what it says. It says, "Thank you for contacting the Kansas Department for Children and Families concerning child abuse or neglect on 6/10/25. Some situations may not be assigned for further assessment. The incident or circumstances you reported was not assigned for further assessment. As reporter, you may also be in the position to support the child and family by connecting them with natural parents, natural supports, or community resources. If the incident or circumstances reported was not assigned, it is due to one of the following reasons. Has been or is being assessed by DCF and or law enforcement, does not meet definitions for abuse or neglect by Kansas statute and regulation, information reported is the responsibility of another agency and has been forwarded, insufficient information to identify the alleged victim. Federal and state laws protect the confidentiality of children and families by prohibiting DCF from disclosing additional details. DCF is unable to release further information to you without a written release of information." Now, the kids' natural parents, the Lockmans, are dismayed by Oklahoma Department of Human Services and Kansas Department of Human Services, or KDCF's, lack of concern for this little boy following the indictment of his adopted father for child molestation and suicide. Now, as soon as Solon Harrison got federally indicted, DHS, by law, should have immediately been notified to go to the house and make sure that the son, right, this is what the biological mother said, that my son was okay. You see, government is really quick to overreach into families concerning child endangerment, but when government endangers a child, investigation is discouraged and the free press, or anybody else for that matter, is largely shut out. Under laws intended to protect the privacy of minors and families, child welfare agency and court documents are unattainable through open records request. So, with all that said, one has to ask yourself, how did this little boy, Lincoln Lockman, end up in this unaccountable system? How did it happen? Okay, how did it happen? So Gardenia Lockman, and I'm going to tell you the truth, and what you got to hear for full disclosure and everything. She was very honest about the addiction issues both she and her now husband Andrew were battling when she became pregnant with Lincoln, as COVID lockdowns were being implemented across the country. Addicted to methamphetamine and worried for the health of her unborn baby, she states, "It was really hard for me to stop using on my own. So what did the mom do? She sought care from a physician who referred her to the Substance Use Treatment and Recovery Prenatal Clinic at the OU Health Science Center, which is a program publicly funded through the currently embattled Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. These people treat and support pregnant women with a history of addiction. And this program's goal here is supposed to keep families together. Now, Gardenia says the Star Clinic helped her become drug-free, provided her needed prenatal care, and put a plan in place to support the family during and after Lincoln's birth, right? And here you can see the advertisement here. Now, in partnership with Oklahoma Department of Human Services, the Star Clinic is supposed to assist in preventing children from coming into state custody after birth. Unfortunately, the night that Gardenia's water broke and her labor began, she was told by phone that there was no available birthing room at OU Medical Center where the Star Clinic had arranged for her to give birth. The Locksmiths instead went to Norman Regional Hospital as advised, and from that point, supports from the Star Clinic were pulled out from under the family and the system turned against them, right? That's how it works. Gardenia Lockman, then Gardenia Savar, her medical records confirm she tested negative for all illicit substances, and this is important, including methamphetamines on the day of Lincoln's birth. And here are the test results. You can see for yourself. HIV, negative. Coronavirus, negative. Urine opiate screen, negative. Urine barbiturate screen, negative. Urine tricyclic antidepressants, negative. Phenols, whatever, negative. Amphetamines, negative. Benzodiazepines, negative. Urine cocaine, negative. Cannabinoids, negative. Oxycodone, all negative. Okay? Every bit of it, right? She thought she was being nice. She thought she was being good. She was honest with Norman's regional intake and provider staff about her previous drug use and explained that she was referred to and had been receiving maternal fetal medicine, right, for high-risk experts within the Star Clinic for months. Okay? Now, you see this here. Right? Late entry in neonatal care, HO meth use in the past, reports that her history is why she referred to the management by MFM, which is maternal fetal medicine. Drop-in cease physician at OU, okay? So, medical records show Lincoln Carter Lockman, the little boy, was born at full gestation, 39 weeks and 1 day after a typical labor with no concerns. He was 20.25 inches long and weighed a healthy 8 pounds and 7.2 ounces. Now, medical notes confirm Lincoln remained in room with his mother and father, experienced skin-to-skin bonding, and was successfully breastfeeding shortly after birth. For a few hours, Andrew, Gardenia, and Lincoln relished being a family. Andrew Gardenia says, "I wanted to be the best dad that I could be." The parents report a CPS worker named Jessica, right? Couldn't figure out her last name, from the Cleveland County Office of Oklahoma Department of Human Services, showed up at the hospital when Lincoln was 13 years old and informed she would soon be taking Lincoln away from his parents. Gardenia says the DHS worker came in that day, was so adamant about getting the judge to sign for them to take him away when they didn't have any proof of anything. Gardenia attempted to engage the Star Clinic, and while they expressed regret that she'd been misinformed about not being able to deliver at OU Medical as planned, the situation was at this point out of their hands because another county now had control of her case. And according to Gardenia, the Star Clinic, would have had me delivered at OU and sent Lincoln home with us and get kept monitoring. The following day, Oklahoma Department of Human Services removed the newborn, right, Lincoln, from his parents and immediately placed him with Solon and Ryan Harrison as foster parents. Both Norman Regional and Oklahoma DHS knew Gardenia was no longer using drugs and was a Star Clinic patient at the time of removal. She said it was really traumatic. I don't even remember what he weighed or how long he was, only anything because it was just so traumatic. Unable to watch and overcome with sadness, Andrew left the hospital room as Jessica was packing his son into a car seat the couple had ready to take their child home. Sitting in his truck in the hospital parking lot, Andrew watched as Lincoln was loaded into the car, parked next to him, and driven away. He said it was devastating. He sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes and couldn't move, couldn't drive, nothing. And according to the Lockmans, a few months into the case, Oklahoma DHS worker Jessica informed the couple even Lincoln's umbilical cord, which provides a much longer window for detection of drug use, had tested negative for all substances. But still, their kid was not given back to them. With no evidence of drug use, the agency focused on the couple's housing situation, which Gardenia now sees as an excuse to simply keep her son. When DHS first took him, we ended up moving to a house in Yukon, a nice house. Andrew was building steel buildings. Then we got our apartment for 6 or 7 months, says Gardenia. And Oklahoma DHS still refused to return Lincoln to their care even under agency supervision. Now, Oklahoma DHS concealed same-sex placement. They ignored the family's religious objections, and the foster dads refused to support the case goal of reunification because they're homosexuals. This is what the state does. Oklahoma DHS would not give the Lockmans any information about Lincoln's foster family. She did not tell me it was 2 men. They just said they found a placement for him. Gardenia pumped breast milk for the first week and sent it to Lincoln through Oklahoma Department. Can you imagine that? Sent it to them for her son. She has no idea if it was even given to the young man or the baby or not. The couple also sent a large duffel bag full of new clothing, bottles, a car seat, everything you could ever need for a baby, for our baby, to the Harrisons. Months later, the items were returned unused with tags still hanging on the clothing. Despite an Oklahoma Department of Human Services mandate that foster parents understand and support the case goal of reunifying children with their biological families, the Harrisons refused to meet or engage with the Lockmans during court-ordered visitations with Lincoln. Okay, court-ordered. They didn't want us to come to their house for visits. They didn't want to meet us at a public place, says Gardenia. For months, the Lockmans knew nothing about the people caring for their child. The court order allowed the Lockmans a single 2-hour visit per week with their baby, and they never missed a visit. Even 4 years later, Andrew says every Tuesday at 10 a.m. to them was like their precious time. They cherished every moment spent with Lincoln, and eventually under the supervision of their DHS permanency worker, Akeitha Washington, who Gardenia reports did everything she could to provide them with additional visits, even leaving her own family on Christmas to sit at a Waffle House for 4 hours so the Lockmans could bond with their newborn son. During a supervised visit, when Lincoln was about 6 months old and beginning to babble his first words, Gardenia expressed concern about her son potentially referring to his foster caregiver as Mama. And that's when Washington informed her Lincoln was in the care of 2 men. And Gardenia, her quote, that floored us. I mean, how could you not tell us? That is something someone needs to know. My little boy being with 2 men. The Gardenias immediately expressed a religious objection to the placement. They tell you, well, do you have any religious preferences? It's against our religious beliefs that 2 men should be together. No change was made concerning the placement. Right? Despite the homos' objections, Washington arranged for the Lockmans to have their one and only interaction with them at Oklahoma DHS foster sibling event at the Oklahoma City Zoo. And during the visit, the Lockmans said Solon and Ryan Harrison expressed excitement about attending an adults-only drinking event at the zoo advertised as Sip and Stroll Pride Night. Go figure. The Lockmans left with greater concerns about the Harrisons' lifestyle and the safety of Lincoln, their newborn's, safety. So the former, their caseworker, she left. She quit DHS. She speaks out now. And she said, her words are, Oklahoma Department of Human Services should never have taken the child and that favors progressive placements. This is a whistleblower now, remind you, okay? This is a whistleblower now saying this. The Lockmans described former health welfare worker Akeitha Washington as all about reunifying children with their families as state law requires, and the only person they trusted within the Oklahoma Department of Human Services system. Washington spent more than a dozen years working with families through Oklahoma DHS and agreed to talk about this particular case publicly. As the result of both the courts, right, which is Judicial Court District 21 and Oklahoma Department of Human Services handling of the Lockman case and one another, Washington left both the agency and the profession. And she no longer lives in Oklahoma, just so you guys know. Washington believes Oklahoma Department of Human Services violated their own policies in taking custody of Lincoln Lockman and broke the law by not returning him to his parents. She said from the beginning someone wanted to give those homosexuals a baby. And Washington was assigned as the permanency worker on the Lockman case after Lincoln was placed in the homosexual home by CPS. From the beginning, she openly questioned her superiors and based upon Oklahoma DHS policy about why the child ever came into custody. She said the CPS report said for substance abuse that the parents admitted to, but it wasn't stated the parents or baby tested positive. She said, I had to go look for testing to find out mom tested negative. Washington said she contacted the Star Clinic and confirmed Gardenia Lockman was successfully treated there for several months prior to having a baby. And according to Washington, the clinic informed they felt the Lockmans would have been very successful in taking their baby home with support, but that the program was forced to step back when Oklahoma DHS became involved. Washington said, I was very vocal about this case. From my understanding from reading the report from investigations, when I got it was the baby was not in our care because mom or baby tested positive, but because mom had admitted that she had, at some point during her pregnancy, used drugs. Generally, up to that point, that would have been an in-home based case where baby would have gone home with mom and would have had a social worker assigned to her and baby to make sure that things were going smoothly. And now this former DHS worker said, I let it be known to everybody, and I don't know why this baby is in permanency. The only answer Washington reports receiving from her supervisors was, that's the decision CPS made. They're trafficking your kids, folks. They're trafficking your kids. Now, the case with the former, DHS worker, she had significant concerns about Lincoln's care with the homosexuals. During her initial visit, the Harrisons shared they had previously fostered two other male children, ages 5 and 7, and they elected not to retain those children because of their ages and behavioral issues, and wanted a child that had never been in any of their home. This former caseworker says, to be honest with you, I was fighting from the first visit for Lincoln to be removed from their home. Despite Oklahoma DHS's mandate that foster parents support the goal of reunifying children with their biological families, the former caseworker says they, the homosexual couple, did not want the parents to know anything about them. They let it be known their intention from the start was to adopt. And I let them know this is not an adoption case at this point. This case is just getting started and these parents have time. And according to this caseworker, the physical environment at the home appeared safe, but the Harrisons, the homosexuals, were observably not capable of providing age-appropriate care for an infant and appeared to lack the ability to nurture such a young child. There was no cuddling, no holding, or talking to the baby. There was not a family feeling in the home, even between the two homosexuals. In contrast, Washington describes the Lockmans during visitation with Lincoln as both equally involved, playing, talking to him, interacted like a family. And according to Washington, from the time I pulled up, they would run out and do everything for that baby. Washington discovered the Harrisons were inappropriately feeding Lincoln for his age. Listen to this. And failing to change him often enough. While changing a diaper during a supervised parental visitation with Washington, Gardini discovered Lockman had a serious rash, and it was a bad one, said Washington, the former DHS worker. It looked like he'd been sitting in his urine for quite some time. The former DHS worker reports calling the homosexuals, who said they were aware of the rash and it was nothing. The former DHS worker required the Harrisons to seek medical treatment for Lincoln on that day and provide her with a doctor's report. Despite expressing her mounting concerns to her supervisor, Jennifer Baker, she was not allowed to remove Lincoln from the Harrison home. Higher-ups, and I mean higher than my supervisor and myself, were completely enamored with the homosexuals, she said. If I said something, they said something they were sided with. The homosexuals were. Go figure. At the time, the department was doing this shift, and parents like the Harrisons were being looked at more favorably. And parents like the biological parents who had admitted to a history of substance abuse were not looked at favorably. In her opinion, what went down was they wanted the gay couple to have that baby. There was no real concern for biological parents. The gay couple wanted a baby, and this is their way to get it. And the department was fully aware. Now, according to the whistleblower, the push toward more progressive placement at the expense of child safety and well-being was coming from Oklahoma Department of Human Services State Office and David Johnson, District Director for the Norman, Oklahoma DHS office at the time of Lincoln's removal. In June of 2021, Johnson was promoted to the agency's state office as the head administrator responsible for statewide post-adoption services. When asked if same-sex foster parents were trendy with DHS and got preferential treatment during that time, the whistleblower said, yeah. Now, this whistleblower believes that trend worked to the detriment of children in multiple cases in Cleveland County. She said, and I quote, "It proved itself later on in this situation. They, the Harrisons, the gay couple, were not in it for the best interest of the child. They were only concerned with what they wanted. They were not even able to adequately care for the child. I was screaming it from the rooftops, but no one was listening," lamented the whistleblower, with discernible emotion in her voice. Now, Oklahoma DHS, the county court, unlawfully delayed hearings. Listen to this, what they did. Biological parents never provided lawyer, punished for asserting state law. Right? When you know your rights, you get punished for it. And according to the whistleblower, OKDHS and the Cleveland County Juvenile Deprived Court broke state law and dragged out the Lockman case while she continued to inform and advocate for the family. She said, and I quote, "The other thing about this case is they kept continuing it. They kept changing the court date for adjudication. State law under Title 10A only allows law enforcement to take a child directly into emergency custody. For Oklahoma Department of Human Services to take a child in state custody, 1, the area's district attorney must request an emergency court order from a district judge to place a child in temporary emergency custody. 2, within 7 days of removal, the DA must file a petition for a deprived child proceeding, and that filing can only be delayed with court permission for a period not to exceed 15 calendar days from the assumption of custody." That's 10A OS Section 1-4-205. 3, Oklahoma Department of Human Services must present a report to that jurisdiction's district attorney within 30 days justifying the removal as necessary. That's in 10A Oklahoma Statute 1-2-102 and 10A Oklahoma Statute 1-4-101. Next, an adjudication hearing must be held no more than 90 calendar days following the filing of the petition. At adjudication, the state must prove the allegations of the deprived petition are supported by a preponderance of the evidence for the child to be made a ward of the court. Now, the law says this: if adjudication is delayed beyond 90 days, the child will be released from emergency custody unless the court issues a written order with facts showing the child will be in imminent danger if returned to the parents, or grants a continuance of the child in emergency custody based upon an exceptional circumstance, or all parties involved, including the parents, agree to such continuance. And finally, if the adjudicatory hearing is delayed pursuant to this subsection, the emergency custody order shall expire unless the hearing on the merits of the petition is held within 180 days after the actual removal of the child. That's 10A-1-4-601. Now, after adjudication, if the child is adjudicated deprived, DHS is required to attend a permanency hearing every 90 days to update the court on case progress and child well-being. That's the law. Right? According to the whistleblower and the Lockmans, the parents were never provided an attorney because adjudication had not happened ever. Never happened. The whistleblower says, we continue to get continuances not from DHS, from the court, so I never attended a permanency court hearing for the case. In November of 2020, just weeks before Lincoln's birth, Associate District Judge Bethany Stanley was appointed by Governor Stitt to take over the juvenile deprived docket in Norman after longtime Associate District Judge Stephen Bonner retired. After the Lockmans case passed the 180-day mark, during a visitation with both Lincoln and his parents, Washington, who's the whistleblower, informed them of the law and DHS policy. Adjudication kept getting continued out and out. We never had it. That's why I told them when we get to that 6-month mark, hey, we should not have your kid. Your case has not been adjudicated. The state does not legally have the ability to have your kid. Pulled out my laptop, pulled out the policy, and gave it to him. And here's the law. Adjudication hearing, not more than 90 days. The child should be released, right? Here it is right here. This is the law. You can see it for yourself. They broke the law. The state, right? Now, the biological parents, the Lockmans, they understood they were no longer legally required to return Lincoln to the Harrisons following the visit and pressed the issue with DHS. Washington's superiors, right? Washington's the whistleblower, don't forget, and the homosexual engaged law enforcement. And after consultation between more police and DHS state offices, the agency somehow reportedly obtained another emergency order to retain state custody of Lincoln. It was shady as crap, quote unquote, from the whistleblower. When Washington left DHS in August of 2021, 8 months after Lincoln was taken from the Lockmans, the case had still not been adjudicated. Following her departure, she believes DHS punished the Lockmans for exerting their legal rights by making them start from the beginning of their permanency plan with a worker who would not question the agency's actions. Now, given Saul and Harrison's now 2 known arrests involving child sexual abuse, the whistleblower had continuing concern for Lincoln's safety and the care of Ryan Harrison. And her quote, this is a whistleblower, she said, there are not many times that the non-offending parent does not know exactly what's happening. Now, government agency bullying causes precise problems it claims to fix. Lincoln's parents' pressure to relinquish rights threatened with loss of future babies, right? How many times we hear this one? Like we literally hear this one all the time. Oops. So the more the Lockmans fought for their son and attempted to assert their legal rights, the more the system unofficially pushed back. 9 months into the case, they were assigned a new caseworker named Rosemary, who made them start from the beginning. Everything we did for the first 9 months was like it didn't happen. We started from square one, says Gardenia. Their court-ordered visitation time with Lincoln has been reduced from 2 hours to a half hour per week. And Gardenia recalls a sense of powerlessness, hopelessness, anxiety, and grief overtaking the couple as they ran out of ways to fight the unaccountable government agency that had taken their child. Gardenia says, I feel like someone at DHS knew this couple and they were looking for a baby. The process was tearing us apart. In March of 2022, at a Cleveland County juvenile deprived hearing regarding Lincoln's custody, the judge arranged for Gardenia to be taken into custody related to unpaid fines and costs of less than $1,000 from a 2016 Jackson County case. Her bond was set at $50,000 for a fine of less than $1,000. Unable to pay, she spent 20 days in jail. It was then, after more than a year of sobriety, Gardenia says both she and Andrew returned to drug use and a pattern of criminal activity to support their addiction. She admitted this. And while neither Andrew nor Gardenia have made a record of any violent offenses, both were arrested in June of 22 for receiving and concealing stolen property. Oklahoma DHS, they were waiting and watching. They knew what they were doing. They immediately moved to terminate the Lockmans' parental rights, and their lawyer's request to postpone the October 4th, 2022 hearing on the matter was denied. The Lockmans say they were then threatened with the loss of their future children to the state if they didn't relinquish their rights to Lincoln. Our lawyer said don't let them terminate, but they are going to do it anyway. They said, "You will never be able to have another baby in Oklahoma if you don't relinquish," shared Gardenia. Broken under the full weight of an unbeatable government system, the Lockmans relinquished their rights. Both Andrew and Gardenia spent time in prison during 2023. She said, "By the time I got to prison and was able to get someone to get some pictures of him, the homosexuals, had already adopted him. They were in a hurry to adopt him for sure. Breaks my heart. It was horrible. And I'm still going to therapy for it," says Gardenia. "And now knowing what my son could have been going through, God knows what, for his whole life, and nobody cared and nobody stopped it. It was heart-wrenching." Now I'm going to give you a little miracle of resilience. Biological family is now thriving, caring for their second child, searching for Lincoln. The Lockmans report being drug-free since 2022. And by the way, they gave us the login to their because you can do your online portals now for your head medical stuff. They gave us the logins, so we can verify everything was 100% true. Okay? So they were drug-free since 2022. They were released within the same 2 weeks, lived in sober living programs. Andrew found steady employment in the heat and air business, and they now have their own home. Andrew and Gardenia were married in August of last year and recently welcomed their second son, Lane Carter Lockman, into the world. Lincoln and Lane have the same middle name. "We named our son Lane Carter Lockman. When they get bigger and Lincoln's wondering, hey, who's my family? Thank God I have this baby. He's my world," she said. Little Lane is thriving. Gardenia is pursuing a business certification, and the couple has connected with legal representation to continue their search for Lincoln, who, by the way, is now 4 years old. In the absence of action by either OKDHS or Kansas DCF, the Lockmans have also notified the FBI concerning the ongoing risk to Lincoln and Ryan Harrison's removal of the child from Oklahoma. So I'm going to ask you guys. Okay, here's a picture here. Let me take this off here. I'm going to give you these numbers here. I'm going to put this on the screen. I'm going to put this at the bottom here. I want everybody watching this video. I mean, I don't care who you are. If you're watching this, here's what I need you to do. I need you to, if you're watching this live with me right now, what I need you to do is let me see if I can change the speed of this, which I can. Oh, yes, I can. Okay, I'm going to slow this down because I want you guys to take this number. All right, the information at the bottom here. I want you to take this information. I want you to write down the phone number, and I want you to call. And I want to put pressure on these people like nothing, like we've never seen before, to find out, because everything, and you're going to find out why this is extremely important here. Okay. I'm putting another number here, right? So there's two numbers here. There's this number here. There's this number here. And then there's one down below underneath it. So there's two numbers. Okay. Call both those numbers. The information for the boys is on the ticker at the bottom. Okay. Make sure you guys please write this down. This is important. This is where all of us can get involved and get this little kid out of that homo home and back to his parents. Okay. You want to do something for the kingdom? Here's your chance. All right. Here's your chance to do something for the kingdom. Okay. And not even that, but just the right thing generally. Okay. Here's your chance. Now, this was so bad. This whole thing caught the attention of a lawmaker in Oklahoma. See this? Now, I'm going to read it to you. It says, actually, I got to pull up a little bigger because I can't see it. It's too small for my eyes. Getting older, you know how it is. Let me pull up a bigger copy here so I can see it clearly. Okay. This is via email. This is coming from a state rep. Okay. Coming from state rep, Justin J.J. Humphrey. He's a good guy, by the way. So he writes to Director Jeffrey Cartmel. He says, "Dear Attorney General Drummond and Director Cartmel, Katie Smith, a reporter for Visit," unfortunately she was outed, released a story titled "Where is Lincoln? Oklahoma Child Welfare Push for Same-Sex Adoption." She writes, "For decades, Americans have been told CPS are in a place to ensure the safety of children, only stepping in when families cannot protect their own. The story of Lincoln Lockman exposes a starkly different reality. Where government agencies and courts meet, parents are powerless, and decisions are increasingly guided not by law, but by the latest progressive trends. Accountability is non-existent, leaving the system incapable of fixing its own mistakes. It appears Child Protective Services should never have been involved. Upon becoming pregnant, the mother checked herself in a drug rehab. She was completely drug-free, and the baby was drug-free at the time of birth. The mother recognized her addictions and took appropriate steps to ensure the safety of her baby. Therefore, why was CPS called? And why did CPS remove this child? It appears this baby was removed without cause. Furthermore, the parents complied with all CPS and court requirements for reunification. Yet the Department of Human Services illegally withheld the child from his parents. The Department of Human Services policy is to place children with close relatives. The father's brother requested to take Lincoln, and the brother appeared to be the perfect placement. He had his own business, a steady income, stable children, and seemed to meet every conceivable requirement. Once again, DHS broke policy and refused placement with the brother, instead secretly placing Lincoln with the same-sex couple with previous molestation arrests. So that's the first page. Here's the second page. Any reasonable person would reach the logical conclusion that DHS, CPS violated the law and their own policy to steal, kidnap Lincoln. It appears the purpose for kidnapping Lincoln was to provide a trendy same-sex couple adoption. Lincoln has been left with the younger parent of his same-sex marriage, who is very likely the victim of his partner and accused pedophile. It would seem more than rational that this adoptive custodial parent has a great probability for sexual abuse. Certainly, the state should have substantial concerns for Lincoln's safety. Instinctively, the biological parents desire the return of Lincoln. However, DHS is doing nothing to correct their hideous conduct. DHS stole Lincoln from his family by falsely claiming to protect him. And now that Lincoln is in undeniable danger, DHS does nothing. I have reported a similar case of DHS kidnapping of a child from a Johnson County couple, and I was completely ignored. Grand jury petitions have been filed in no fewer than 5 counties with substantial evidence of unlawful behavior. I provided a 2-hour Oklahoma House Committee hearing revealing absolute evidence of glaring abuse. Oklahomans, a DA, other elected officials, and I have requested a multi-county grand jury based on the numerous reports of corruption. Both of you have denied allegations, refusing to accept responsibility or to oppose accountability for these blatant violations. I believe for Lincoln and all children, it's about damn time we do something. Representative Justin J. Humphreys. That's a good guy right there. You know, let me switch these up because that long one here should be on top, not the bottom. Let me edit this because, and again, I hope you guys don't ignore this, and I hope I hope that every one of us does do. Let me get the other number here again. Do our part here. And I'm going to leave these numbers up here for a few more minutes because I want you to write these down. I want you to take action on this. I want you to contact the DA's office. I want you to contact both these phone numbers. And I want you to report the information for the identity of this child is up there with his birth date and everything else. You need to call. And look, we already know that when we get involved in these things, you guys, when you guys call and you guys everything else, we get results, didn't we? How many child molesters have we gotten locked up in Oklahoma because of you guys calling and helping and dealing with this? And not taking a back seat to this. Here's another opportunity to reunite these parents with their child. You need to call both of these numbers. We need to put maximum pressure on these people to get the children. I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. No, where's that number? To get this kid back to his parents and away from potentially in a potentially abusive situation. This is about protecting a child. Okay. So there. Both numbers are here. The information's there. Take a screenshot, write it down. I don't care what you got to do. Trump can't ban them because it's written in law. Trump's not a king. I know, contrary to a lot of people think, he doesn't have all power. He can write executive orders, but he can't make law. That's not, he's the executive branch, right? He doesn't have the power to do that. I think we need to go take some civics class to understand that, right? Executive orders are orders. They don't really have the force of law technically, because once a new president comes in, race them, write a new one. That's it. It's over, right? But I bring this to your attention because this is another example of DHS in Oklahoma kidnapping children for gay people. That's exactly what happened here. There's no argument. There's no refutation of it. They broke the law. And yet they get away with it because we won't do anything about it. We're too, we got better things to do, right? We're supposed to be Christians taking care of the children and widows and all these things here, doing all these things here. But yet when stuff like this happens, where are we? We're too busy. We've got too many other things on our plate. Are you a Christian or not? If you have the ability to do something and you don't, you're a problem. This happens because they know that we're not going to do anything. So here is what you need to do. Kansas protection and use line. Lincoln Lockman Harrison, date of birth 12/15/2020. You need to call Oklahoma and Kansas. This is a must for us to do. This is not negotiable. If you follow our ministry and you're a part of our ministry and you're going to have to do this. Get that kid out of that home before we don't even know if he's alive or not. We have no idea. We know he's in, you heard from Representative Humphrey. And believe me, we're not, and I'll give you guys an update when we find out more. I knew, I've been sitting on this for a few weeks. We were in the car. I think Kaz is with us. I'm not 100% sure when we were talking about this, with Katie and all that. So, but, man, this is just, I need you guys more than ever to get involved in this. And don't let up on it. Don't 2 days from now forget about this. Call. Do not let up. Let's get this kid home. Let's get this kid home to his mom and dad. We have people ministering to them right now. They're not, whether they're saved or not, we really don't know. They've talked about their religious beliefs, but I don't really think they have a firm grasp on Christianity. But we are ministering to them, and let's show them that when we pray, when we come together and we work together, we can make a difference, and that we can overcome the state's obstacles in them keeping her child. Okay? Yeah, we're a street preaching ministry, but that's not all we do. Street preaching is a part of this ministry, but that's not all that we do. Okay? We also do stuff like this. We uncover trafficking, and this is another one we just uncovered. And again, it's all for the homosexuals. I have another one we're working on right now. I can't begin to tell you the amount of information I got on this one. The level, and the next one that the one that we're working on right now is a father who said that his son was in a Discord server. Okay. And the Discord server, he was being groomed by, of course, homosexuals, because that's what they do. And he went to a mental health treatment, and they transitioned him without telling the father. So what are you guys going to do here? What are we going to do? I'm asking you guys to call, get this kid home. He was illegally kidnapped. Call. And even if they try to, because what they do is they dismiss reports, you keep calling. Do not let up until this kid is home. Thank you guys for listening to me tonight. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Like I said, this is one of the things that we have to bring attention to, because again, now these are the ones that we know about, right? What about the ones we don't know about, right? Those still happen too, so we have to, figure it out. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, I'm responding to something real quick. All right. So with that said, I want to thank you guys again for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. Again, I'm leaving this up. Call. If you guys want to help support the ministry, you can do so by subscribing to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@worstChrisOfficial. You'll notice the name is Official Street Preachers on that channel, but the @ symbol is the same. And that's until everybody understands that Works for Christ and Official Street Preachers is now one ministry. So we're going to keep it there for a little while. Just, again, I think it's the best way to try to migrate over and put those things together. But make sure you subscribe. Make sure you got notifications turned on. Make sure that you don't, what do you call it? Make sure if you have them turned on already, you go back and double check, triple check, quadruple check, because like Facebook, YouTube likes to take it upon themselves to decide what you can see and what you don't see. Okay. And that's kind of the modus operandi for YouTube. So also don't forget we have Rumble, which is you go to rumble.com, search for Warriors, the number 4 Christ, and make sure you follow us there in case any YouTube channels get taken down. We simulcast these on Rumble, YouTube, all that, all at the same time. So if this ever gets taken down, everything will be on Rumble, and everything will still be on Rumble, and we'll still continue to move forward from there. It's important that we get involved in these things. And we also have Instagram. My Instagram is at Official Street Preachers. My Twitter or X, is at WFC Preacher. Man, the amount of views I'm getting on here is crazy. Because I just shared an article that says queer academics suggest pedophilia be taught in schools as an innate sexuality. Where have we heard that before? So I post a lot on Instagram several times a day, you guys. So if you don't want to miss, I've got videos exposing, I've got, these evil people, what they're doing to show who they really are, they're not loving, they're not tolerant, they're not whatever, that they're just, whatever. We have some preaching, a call to go to God, these things. So make sure you're on our Instagram as well. I have a TikTok channel, but who knows? I mean, Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker, made a video. He's talking about Jesus would support gays. Jesus would support transgenders. I said, this guy's a devil. And of course they removed my comment for hate speech. So that's what we're up against, so there's no guarantee of how long TikTok will be up. Now, when I share a video on TikTok, it does get hundreds of views right now. Sometimes I get thousands depending upon, whatever, but I do post there as well. Not as often, but I do. So follow us on all these platforms. Again, just because we're not on Facebook was kind of our least viewed platform at this point. The only people that followed us there were other Christians, right? Which we want to go beyond that and reach other people, right? Patriots, other people, and all these kinds of things here. So make sure you follow us on all these platforms. If you want to help support the ministry, the links are not on the screen because right now I want these links up to you guys to get these phone numbers. But If you want to support us, you can do so, especially as we continue doing this kind of work. Because you see, there's no way I can monetize, the one channel, and the other one barely gets anything anyway. So we rely on donations to continue funding ministry work. You have our website, which is, bit.ly/works for Christ. It's not our website, but that's our donation website. We have Venmo, which is at Works for Christ Official. We have CashApp, which is $WFC Church. We have PayPal, which is paypal.com/XTRIN Journal Media. Unfortunately, I can't change that. And all that. So we have Zelle, which is support@christianjournal.net as well. So we have all these different ways you can give if you want to support the ministry, help keep us doing this stuff, help fund our team as they go out and research these things and all that. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort to get all this done. So we appreciate every donation. We appreciate your prayers. Amanda is just ticking away making shirts right now, which, praise God for that, because she is really good with that stuff. Stuff that I could never do or even fathom even attempting to do, because I'd be really bad at it. So anyway, so I also put up in our community post there that I'm asking if you guys think that I should make a video on Thursday, right? And I've been toying with this one for a little while, but I haven't just done it yet because so many other things have happened. Should I make a video on how free grace is akin to the Nicolaitans and how their theology mirrors one another? And Jesus hated their theology. And, you have historical biblical examples of this. I don't know if you guys know what some of that stuff is or means, but let me know. Go on the community section, make a vote. Let me know. If I get an overwhelming thing, I'll do it. Again, I'm going to do it sooner or later anyway. But if you guys would rather me do it now, let me know. Otherwise, I've got plenty more topics to go over. So with that said, again, make sure you guys call. Make sure we get and stay on it. Don't just take no for an answer. You keep calling. You keep putting pressure on him. You keep doing what needs to be done until this little boy gets home. Okay? Again, I want to thank you guys for everything, for supporting us, for praying with us. We have a box of Bibles we're going to be handing out here. We just made a new track, a new Bible tract, if you want some, called Why Does God Allow Tragedy? And I won't spoil it for you, but it's a really good track. Dave's working on one for the alcohol right now. It's actually a really good one as well. So, we've been designing Bible tracts. I got another video to do. Dr. Robert Gagnon is doing a 5-part series on Leviticus and the Levitical prohibitions. I've got his first one to do now. They got to edit for him. He just put another one up, Rejoinder, which is really good. So make sure you go check him out and check out his videos. You're basically going to get a Harvard level education for free watching his videos. Fortunately for me, I get to watch them like 30 times each as I'm editing them. So, but anyway, go check him out. You guys will appreciate that. He's got a lot more content coming to educate you, equip the body, give the arguments you need to go out there and evangelize. At the end of the day, that's our goal. And if you can't answer basic questions, I watched a video today where some guy was arguing something there. Oh, the Bible endorses slavery. It does not endorse it. It deals with it, but it doesn't simply say, whatever. It tells you how to do it humanely, given the time they were in. These people argue the Bible says a rapist must marry, a girl being rapist marry a rapist. That's just simply not true at all. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that. They conflate two different verses in Deuteronomy. One deals with rape, and it says the rapist might be put to death. The other one is talking about consensual sex, that they have to get married. So, but again, if you don't know these things, how are you effectively able to whatever? Because remember, these atheists, these liberals, remember, they think they're Bible scholars. They think they know more than us, right? Because they're arrogant, pompous jerks, right? I've read the Bible, I'm an atheist. Well, you're clearly a stupid one because, you indicate to me you read it, but you clearly don't understand it. And actually, I don't believe you read it. I think you've read about it based upon your responses because you're given the same cliched answers as evilbible.com tells you to say. So I could tell right now that you have not read it. You've only read what you've heard about it, and you have certain talking points that you would, that's easily refutable. You guys need to learn these things, how to do it so that you can refute these people. Instead of people just standing there with a microphone, just going, yeah, God loves you. I mean, yeah, because that's how you do it. That's whatever. Here you go, speak. Oh, I know the Bible better than you, but God loves people. That's your go-to? Really? That's how you refute that? You're called to give a defense. Do it properly. But anyway, thank you guys again. Appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I'll be back Thursday night. Not sure what we're going to do yet. Maybe we'll do that one, but I'm not sure. But again, go to the community section. Let me know. And I will see you guys Thursday night. God bless you. Be safe. And again, make sure you all call.
I heard an old story, how a savior came from glory, how he gave his life on Calvary to save a wretch like me. I heard about his groaning, of his precious blood's atoning. Then I repented of my sins and won the victory. I'm breaking through the silence, the weight of grace ignites this. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior, forever. He sought me and bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. I heard about his healing, of his cleansing power revealing, how he made the lame to walk again and caused the blind to see. And then I cried, dear Jesus, come and heal my broken spirit. And somehow Jesus came and brought to me the victory. I'm breaking through the silence, the weight of grace ignites this. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior, forever. He sought me and bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. I heard about a mansion he has built for me in glory, and I heard about the streets of gold beyond the crystal sea, about the angels singing and the old redemption story. And some sweet day I'll sing up there the song of victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior, forever. He sought me and bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. Beneath the flood. Beneath the flood.
I would like to address some of you upcoming street preachers. You have to understand, you're not going to be a pulpit preacher. You're not going to preach in very nice places. As a matter of fact, where God will send you, it's going to be a little bit dirty. Unfortunately, most ministers see their flock dressed nice, looking nice, smelling nice on Sunday. But we see them from Monday through Saturday at any given place. And so that flock is a mess. And you have to understand, when you preach open air, it's not going to be glamorous. Unfortunately, God's going to send you into the filth, the wickedness. You're going to understand why, even at one point, God resented even making mankind. And so you need to count the cost. There's nothing glamorous. There's nothing wonderful and beautiful. It's not, you can forget about being a missionary to Hawaii. If you're going to be an open air preacher, your hands are going to get dirty, because the field that you're going to plow is filthy. You're going to look at sin in a whole different way. As a matter of fact, if you're a good street preacher, you're going to hate sin. You're going to despise sin. You're not just going to dislike it. You're going to understand why God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, and why God destroyed the world with water and flood. And so if you're a young open air preacher, this is what you're going to have to look up to. This is going to be the field in which you're going to be plowing in. And you need to rejoice in that. And understand, you're going to be hated, despised, and jailed working in a place like this. Because one day, I'm going to die. And I'm going to be with the Lord. And all this will be yours.